Welcome back to MSI 2021. We just wrapped up Group B. Mad Lions and Paris Saint-Germain-Toulon will join the teams in a Rumble stage. And Carzzy, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a rough day for you, I feel.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been kind of rough today.
How did you have to adjust after game one? I mean, tell me about the talks you had with the team and how you managed to get back on track.
So basically, we didn't have any talk. The only thing we've basically talked throughout the entire day was draft. And yeah, I think it all came up to draft because now we played something that we are comfortable on.
Yeah.
And it showed.
It showed, yeah, really. And something else that showed is your performance throughout this entire group stage, Carzzy. Yeah, tell me about the way you played, and does it match the expectations you had coming at MSI this year? 11 kills at that game. 11 kills during the last game.
I was stealing kills. It was just pure last, you know. That has nothing to do with skill. I mean, I was expecting kind of more of me because I feel like my communication in game might be a lot better. But otherwise, mechanical-wise, I'm happy with how I play right now.
Yeah, there's everything to be happy about. Something that I mentioned to Kaiser actually when I had an interview with him is this experience compared to the time you had at Worlds last year, but how was it for you?
It feels a lot better because right now with this team, with this roster, I feel like we can compete with any team in the world. So it just feels great.
I keep on hearing amazing things about Mad Lions and how they can take on the worlds, but showing up at MSI, did you have any expectations with the teams you were going to face, and how did your performance match the expectations so far?
So basically, I thought that we would go 6-0 in the groups. We are 5-1, if I'm not mistaken. Well, we had some rough games against the wildcard teams, so I wasn't expecting that. I give it to them. I must give it to them because they performed better than I expected.
Now, about the Rumble stage, you're going to face Damwon, most likely, if they qualify. We have RNG already, Pentanet, the teams that qualified also today. What are you looking forward to for the next stage, personally and also for the team?
I mean, I can say it overall because it's the same thing. No, I'm overall looking forward to face Damwon, RNG, Cloud9, and yeah, that's it, basically, and PSG again.
So you think Cloud9 is getting out of groups?
I think so. I mean, if they don't make it out of groups, DFM also looks strong, so I wouldn't mind playing against them.
Yeah, the last group is going to be crazy tomorrow. Last question for you, Carzzy. Is there anything you want to say to the EU fans who've been cheering for you so far and who are going to keep on cheering for you for the rest of the MSI?
Sure. Well, thank you guys for supporting us, and I saw that there is not so many negative messages about our team nowadays, so I'm very happy about it.
This is true. Very positive community. And Carzzy, thank you so much for this interview. Good luck on the rest of MSI, and yeah, we'll see you around at the end of the week.
Thank you very much.
And to wrap up this day, let's send it over to Sjokz for Cooldown. Take it away.
Merci beaucoup, Laure. Welcome everyone to MSI Cooldown. I'm Sjokz, joined by Ender and by Bwipo. Carzzy in good spirits. I mean, he's almost always in good spirits in interviews. He expected to go 6-0. Ender was 5-1, and we won't talk about how close some of the games were, I guess.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, a win's a win, and we take those. We take those.
I do think it was important that we saw this last game, which, you know, PSG was the other team that already qualified, and that looked the best in this group, Bwipo. So what did you think of Matt's performance overall in this one?
I feel like they limped out of group stage. They made it out, but definitely with a little bit of a limp, they limped out.
Oh, they limped out.
It was really, it wasn't clean by any means. Definitely some holes, definitely some improvements to be made, but that's...
Are we being too hard on them?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, right? Like, having obvious weaknesses is honestly easier to deal with than not so obvious weaknesses, right? Like, finding out that some of the things that you were doing don't work out is a little bit harder to do than starting 0 and whatever in an official match.
Yeah, and theoretically, like, PSG should be like one of the stronger teams outside of the major regions here. So like, I think that having a close game against them, nothing to be too upset about at the end of the day. And ultimately, Mad Lions will move on in the tournament. And I think that they do have a good shot at making it even out of the Rumbles.
Yeah, I was thinking about the context of like, you know, last year kind of disaster at Worlds, then the roster changes who really were only made at the beginning of this year, right? And then to win the championship. And now in the Rumble sage, I think is where we're really going to see them get extensively tested. And when we are hoping, as you say, that some of those issues we've seen in this stage won't come out to play once again, because that's going to be a lot harder. So let's take a look at the final standings in this group with PSG and MAD advancing, Wildcats and Pain Gaming eliminated from MSI 2021. Oof, I feel like Pain had a lot of games where they were actually contesting, then Mad Lions, of course, got beaten by the Wildcats in the first game of the day, but yeah.
Look, both of these teams had really solid performances, specifically against the Mad Lions. And honestly, what a way to go out. Their final game, Pain versus the Wildcats, there was just blood everywhere. It was crazy. Like, I had so much fun watching that game. And I think as far as like everyone getting to throw one last punch, that was the way to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was pretty fun to watch. Ultimately, I think Wildcats, and especially Holy Phoenix, had a great tournament. I mean, he looked like he was going to pull in wins almost all the way to the Rumble stage. Unfortunately for them, wasn't quite the truth. And for Pain Gaming, again, it was Rumble Day today for sure.
It was Rumble Day. They lived up to that expectation. And now it's time for our MasterCard question of the day. Rico Suave asks, ooh, I love that name. Which player do you think will shine and catch the eyes of top region teams? So I think we can go off the teams that have already qualified through, right? But then do you have to take the teams that are unexpected to go through, like a Pentanet? And is Pavu going to catch the eye of major regions? How do we interpret this one?
Oh, I mean, this one you leave open a lot, because it could be any of the players tomorrow, I think, and then anyone going into the Rumble stage. You know what? I came in at the start of the day, though, and I had a lot of hype for one player in particular, Doggo. And you know what? People are sleeping on Doggo. Doggo is going to be crazy on his Tristana. I'm never not going to say that. And I know that some people, not Doggo fans out there, they say, oh, Unified, so much better. But Doggo, Tristana, I love it. Give me more.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to have to break the mold here and go out on a limb and say I think pretty much every single player, spectator, and professional team is going to be looking at Canyon.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
Wait a second. I think they said outside of the major region
Outside of the major region teams? Okay. I messed up the answer there.
Bwipo's over here like, this idiot. What is he saying?
It was insinuated, but maybe Canyon doesn't like smurf on them so hard that even all the other major are like, what the hell?
I mean, again, like looking at Pentanet and PSG in that case, I think the most interesting is probably Maple still for me.
Sure.
Right.
I think he had a great performance on the Syndra. You saw the super clutch play against Humanoid there where he almost turned around the game. I think ultimately Syndra with Rumble in the jungle, you kind of have a bit of an issue with magic resistance, but all in all, it looked very clean in the whole group stage. Zoe was immaculate in the game before that.
And it's a great story, obviously, Maple as well. No, I maybe think, like, you know, if you're Dom 1 and you go up against those absolute crazy lads from
well, I mean, they're still shell-shocked
under.
from playing Detonation Focus Me, so we'll see.
They'll just go against best of one against Pentanet, and they get like a Fiddlesticks and a Zed, and they'll be like, whoa, okay, I guess we're playing ball. Going to be very exciting. So let's take some time now to preview tomorrow's action as the teams in Group C fight for the last 2 spots in the Rumble stage. Ooh, I want to say the best was kept for last because it's tomorrow, a whole day of this absolutely bonkers group. Damwon Kia is 3-0 despite almost losing out in that game versus DFM. And of course, Gillette Infinity, Detonation Focus Me, Cloud9 are all at 1 and 2. Bwipo, you must be excited to watch this group tomorrow. And what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, honestly, it's going to be... This is why this format is interesting. This group is why the format is worth trying. Because if these smaller region teams can actually manage to compete with something like a C9, you're going to be looking at either the greatest of memes or, well, it kind of sets the expectations for the Rumble stage, right? Like Cloud9 limping out of this group like Mad Lions. Again, Mad Lions in 5-1, so ultimately you could say...
Limped out in first place, you know?
Limped out in first place. They still look a bit better, but imagine if C9 comes out with like a 3-3, winning a tiebreaker, 4-3, for example.
As a pro player, when you look at the schedule, what does this actually mean? Because we often say, oh, you know, it's a hard one to start off with, but you might just as well say, well, you can only do your best, and then, you know, it gets easier from there. Or how do you do that on days like this, which you've played before?
I mean, ultimately, like, week 2 of Worlds is where I draw my do or die moments from in my career, at least.
It goes pretty well.
Yeah, week 2 for me has always been kind. I've made it out of every group in Worlds I've played. Obviously, MSI, I've made it out of the one MSI I played.
You are European, so.
There we go. C9 obviously going to draw some power. Mythies, Ven, and Perks. Well, they have their history of making it or sitting in the group, so maybe they don't make it out. But honestly, unless they lose this game against Destination Focus Me again, which is the game I'm going to be looking at, I think that's going to be the decider for the day.
Look, ultimately, I do think that C9 are still the favorites to make it out underneath Damwon, of course. I think that, obviously, it has been a slower start to the tournament than I think a lot of fans would have liked to see from them. But I think overall, as far as like looking at the peaks of all three of the teams underneath Damwon Gaming, they are the strongest. And as long as they are able to show up on the day, they have to have a good day, don't get me wrong, but as long as they show up on the day, I still have them pinned to go out.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I actually have them going really, really far in the tournament overall. I think Cloud9 is the kind of team, because of the nature of the new players they have attracted in Perks, but also the resiliency of Blabber and Fudge, for instance. I actually think that they're going to grow and go from strength to strength throughout this MSI. But as you say, if DFM plays like they did versus Damwon and like they did versus C9, then we've got a whole different story on our hands.
Ultimately, that's the scary thing. Because you're packing in all these games on one day, like anything can happen. If you have one player that, I don't know, had something nasty for breakfast, isn't feeling it, like it can go all downhill very fast. I would also say that there is something very nice about playing Damwon late in the day after they're probably sitting already at 5-0. So Detonation Focus Me, they've got a rematch at the very end of the day against Damwon, which for me is the game to watch.
Oh, it's so interesting. It's like, I don't want to be like, oh, you hate LCS or whatever. No, I would love for Cloud9 to advance as well as anyone in this group.
And you just said you'll think they will. So.
And the Detonation Focus Me story is just... they are winning our hearts, Bwipo, and we love to see that. That's what can happen at MSI. Any final words from your day here at MSI?
I mean, today I think was a really interesting day. I think all the games were relatively close. Both teams could have won. Ultimately, we did see some of the champions shine in draft as well as get countered. Like you saw the Rumble, for example, in the Mad Lions draft. This Rumble was devastating. Like he dropped an equalizer and the game ended, basically, right? Yeah. Whereas in this last game we saw, Rumble paired with another AP mage mid was much more underwhelming. As soon as the magic resistance being stacked on the enemy team, it was difficult for Rumble to find real effect. And I think that going into tomorrow, the drafts will be very important to see who makes it out of this group.
Yeah, and I think if there's one thing I've really taken away from MSI so far, it's that we have had so many surprising new champions in the jungle, in particular. And I think that as you know, new champions of regions can move into the jungle too, it can only get better.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens in that regard. That was all from us here in Berlin. We will be back tomorrow for the final day of the group stage, where the last two teams in the Rumble stage will be decided. See you then.
Rose up! SK Telecom continue to rule the world!